Hi, I'm Texas Peck,
And I'm Dr. Saira.
and today we're going to be exploring something that's really close to both of our hearts. Um, these are challenging times for all of us, and especially in the helping fields. And so, what we want to do is bring a little light and a little bit of hope that there's maybe a different way of looking at this.
For those of us who are drawn into helping people, whether that is in our families, whether that is in from a professional, lens, and I've dedicated my life's work to
Yeah.
helping people, we tend to have really big hearts and we tend to really have this kind of like urge to do something, right? And it can be so demoralizing when we hit the wall of burnout. And that's what we're actually going to be talking today about. And some of the bullshit around okay, I have a thing about swearing in videos. I'm trying not to, but I have to call bullshit on the way that we talk about burnout.
I think that's really valid because we couch some of the stuff in some really beautiful language, and it doesn't say it.
Sometimes it's just okay. So let's back it up. I'm going to talk about how I've been teaching at universities to new therapists. Okay, so there's a whole course on self-care.
Okay, good.
Okay, which is so exciting because when I was going to university, there was no such a thing, and nobody even talked about burnout or self-care. They just said don't break up your client days. Like there was these different strategies, but nobody really acknowledged
more time management than anything.
Exactly, time management, and maybe professional support through supervision or something like that. But for therapists, especially social workers, actually more than therapists, there's now acknowledgement that burnout is a real thing in the field. And there's so many studies, Texas, and we would actually read these studies in class.
Oh, it's weird. To me, that's weird, but that's not my background. So I'm happy to listen to an expert.
And then look at, okay, so what is the antidote to burnout? And in the field, what we're taught is the antidote to burnout is self-care. And this is the part that I want to call bullshit on, because I can tell you, I was like the fucking queen of self-care. I swore again.
I might have to remove myself from this.
The F-bombs are coming out today. Like I was the queen. So what
do you mean by that?
I hit the wall. I hit the burnout, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, what's the solution to burnout? Self-care. So I'm going to self-care. So I'll tell you what my life looked like.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd get up in the morning, I'd drop my kids to school, and then I would go to the gym for an hour yoga class, an hour aerobics class, and then an hour in the hot tub and the sauna. So 3 hours at the gym, 4 times a week.
That's more self-care than I've ever done in my whole life.
Yeah, this was my life for about maybe 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't get another day off.
And then the only reason I stopped was because of COVID.
Okay.
Because the gym closed.
So what would happen if you stopped doing that and kept doing your work?
Well, so before these 6 years, I hit the wall and I burned out, right? So then I'm like, okay, I got to get into self-care. So what is self-care? I have to look after my body. I have to look after my diet. I have to look after my sleep. I have to make sure I have time with my friends. I have to make sure that I'm feeling connected to my family. So there's all of these action items that I had to do. And I remember saying to one of my friends around that time, like, I feel like my whole life is consumed by self-care. And the only way I could sustain a practice was by committing hours and hours and hours of time, but I wasn't necessarily enjoying that experience.
Okay.
It was more like I was surviving. I knew if I didn't do it, then I would crash.
So it's another way that we can protect and survive. Right?
It's like, okay, so I'll do my self-care. Right. Like I'll do my Zumba class, and I'll do my yoga class, and I'll make sure I get my hot tub in and my sauna, and I'll go for my every 2 weeks I have a massage, and I'll get my pedicures. But do you see how I'm talking about it? It wasn't fun.
No.
It was like survival.
Yeah.
So to manage the burnout, I was getting burnt out with self-care. And that's why I'm calling it bullshit.
Yeah.
Because that whole strategy, it's not sustainable.
Well, it's certainly not. We're supposed to be growing through life.
It was just checking off the boxes and holding on by a thread.
Wow.
But before I met you, before I came and moved to this small town, that was my life.
Yeah, wow.
And I was actually quite proud of it.
Well,
because I had my body was ripped. Yep. My relationships were intact. So I thought.
I call bullshit there.
Right. But and I wonder how many ambitious people who have very high stress jobs and a lot of demands from family life do this, right? We're like, well, maybe if I just stay a little bit longer at the gym, or maybe if I listen to this inspirational podcast, or like I'll do my self-care and then I won't burn out. But all of that is coming from this constricted place of like these you see the energy? It's like these expectations, right? There's so many expectations on me and I can't fail.
Oh, okay. So that's the driver.
That's the driver. I can't fail.
Right. So what's the solution then? What have you found as a solution?
Not that.
Not that, right?
Can you feel it?
Oh yeah.
Can you feel the intensity?
I'm in the room with her. Let me tell you, it's there, right? It's
right. Still... And that was the backstory. And then I'd get into a session with a client and I'd have to somehow leave all of that at the door.
Right.
Which you never really can, right? As much as you try to, you never really can. And I was supporting people who were very, very burnt out. So then I was teaching them about self-care. And it took them to a point, but it wasn't bringing people a sense of satisfaction, a sense of ease, a sense of flow, a sense of purpose and calling. None of that was available. It was just, how do I get through my really, really high stress, high powered job and the expectations that are on me. And people can do that for a period of time, but at some point,
something gives.
Something's got to give. And for us, it was for me, it came because we were looking for a different house that would accommodate some aging family members. That's how the whole thing started.
Okay.
And so my sister sent me a listing from the shoe swap and said, this is kind of out of
your norm,
out of your comfort zone. But what about somewhere like this? Like, what about a small town? And the possibility of, we could like simplify and we could quiet everything really down, and I wouldn't have my gym and I wouldn't have my, like, all of the things that I was relying on, like all of that went away because of COVID. So I'm like, well, maybe this is an opening for a new kind of way of being. And the energy shifted, right? And I just started getting a little more curious about what life could be like if I wasn't so driven and so intensely engaged in self-care, what I was calling self-care.
Yeah.
And actually started listening. So one of the first things when I met Texas, I came in for a massage, right? Self-care. I was like, I need a massage, self-care. And I
need to relax right now.
Oh my gosh. And one of the earliest things that you invited me to do was stop my meditation practice.
Yeah, it wasn't super popular.
So because that was part of my self-care, I'm like, you need to meditate. Mindfulness makes you you're going to meditate every morning for an hour. And the challenge of like, well, what if you let go of all of your like rhythms and routines and all of the things you have to do to stay afloat? And part of the story was that I'd been diagnosed with clinical depression.
Yeah.
Right. So in order to just get through my days, I had to stack all of these behaviors just so that I wouldn't want to kill myself.
Right.
Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah. So from my lens, I see all of this really potential, right? Because I understand that that's energy. What you were just feeling, that's energy, and we can do something with that.
So we could actually change that. So then, do you remember that one day? So one day he asked me to just spend the day like following my intuition. I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what's my to-do list?
I get a lot of weird looks.
What's my to-do list in this like intuition assignment?
How do I get an A?
Totally. And it was just like, okay, well, just whatever you're shown to do that. And actually, this ring.
Really?
This is the ring. Yeah. So I happen that's funny that I'm wearing it today.
Not really.
So no, it's all part of the plan. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go and like pop in at the library. So I did that, popped in at the library, and then I was leaving the library, and then there's this little shop and they were going out of business, and something told me go in that shop. So I went in the shop and then went right to the back, and I was just following, like just
look at how your energy is now though when you're telling that story.
Just so flowy, right? So easy. So I went to the shop, I went to the back, like right where I was directed to go. And there was this glass case, and in that glass case was a little like pillow, like a black velvet pillow, and on that pillow was this ring. And it was like, buy the ring. Okay. Texas said I have to do whatever I'm told to do today. So then I bought the ring, and that's it. And there wasn't some like profound,
didn't hear any
there
ring
wasn't like
band or
angels. There wasn't, right? And even now, like, so this is a ring that I wear from time to time. Like, I don't even know if it has any meaning, but that giving myself permission to just flow and let my intuition guide me rather than my task list is a completely different way of doing
right.
this
We talk a lot about that. We're the human beings, not the human doings. And I think that at any time we're challenged to become more who we really are rather than what we can do, it's hard for the ego to look at that, right?
Well, burnout can only exist from a contracted place.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Right? That when I'm actually in flow, I can be ambitious. I can have big ideas.
Yeah.
I can achieve things. I can get a lot done. But like you always say, there's a rhythm to doing and being.
Yeah.
It's not just all doing all the time.
And it's not just all being all the time. We've met those folks too, and there's nothing happening. Well, I mean, like,
there's no burnout because there's nothing happening.
I mean, well, even in I don't want to offend anybody, but if you're just on a mountaintop by yourself and you don't have any interaction and you're pretty much, that's it, that can be okay, but you're not actually having a lot of impact at that place, right? And you're not also challenging maybe that person that looks like your father that walks by on the street or whatever that is. That we need, I think,
being engaged in the world.
Yeah, we're supposed to still be really engaged. We're very engaged with a lot of things, but we recognize that if we do try to do that in this contracted state, we know the end, right?
Because there's only so much energy that I have access to when I'm trying to do it from a place of my own limited survival-based mechanisms. Right? I'm not able to access the awe and the wonder and the grandeur when I'm in this protected state. And that was how I was living my life. And that's why I kept hitting burnout and then increase the self-care and then hit burnout and then change the self-care and then
talk about the guilt though, that if you don't do the thing.
Yeah.
Like this is, I work with a lot of helpers, as you know. And one of the things that we deal with is, but if I don't do this,
it won't get done.
It won't get done, and that person may self-harm, or that person, and there's these big motivators. What could be a different perspective on that from that I use, right?
Right. So we cannot have guilt when we acknowledge people's sovereign agency.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So sovereign agency is a person's innate right to make their own decisions for their life. And that's granted to us at birth. We're actually making decisions for our life, probably even before birth, maybe even at conception, maybe even before that. So we get to decide, me as a being gets to decide
my path.
And that's tough when we have agendas for people, even if they're positive agendas. Like I could have an agenda for my sister, right? That she's really happy in her marriage. And I really want her to be happy in her marriage. Well, if struggling through and bumping up against things in her marriage is part of her soul's growth journey, then she's going to have that experience as much as I want her to be happy in her marriage.
Yeah, one of the things we often talk about is don't get in between the person and the guardrail.
Oh, say more about that.
Yeah, so if a person's journey is this way and the guardrail on the road is here, don't be the cushion between those two things, because they need to touch that guardrail and feel the action and reaction of what that is. And as helpers, we can mirror what's happening, but we don't need to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the solvers.
And whether that's like a professional helping, as a helping professional, or even as like a parent or a loved one, right?
Yeah.
That if we're trying to, we can't live their life for them. We can't walk their path for them. We can't even protect them.
So then what can we do?
Love them.
There you go.
That's all we can.
But
love them, not again from a limited place, but allow love to come through us to help people see who they could really be.
So what I believe is that you cannot love someone if you're not understanding how much you're loved outside of the human relationship.
Can you say, talk more, text us more.
Yeah, so when
he says these really like pithy things, and I'm like, elaborate. The video, you can't just say it in 30 seconds.
But I try.
I know, and you do a good job.
Yeah. But when we're in this open space, we have access to all that there is, right? And that sounds like, wow, that's kind of it's
a big claim.
It's a big claim.
Yeah.
I just know that it's true because I've experienced it so much. So in that place, the number one thing we have access to is what we need as a human being, as a caregiver, as a therapist, whatever. If we're the helper, it has to be us first. And that sounds really, and it's not like that probably didn't, but it's, I'm going to get what I need from this place to fill me up. And that overflow then can allow that person to see that, right? Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing that we bring into the room is that we see the person the way they are, all of it, mm-hmm. but we're not responsible for where they're going.
Right. My agenda, my plan for the client or the family member isn't what's driving me.
Yes.
What's driving me is actually the capacity to see them in their fullness and all of who they are beyond their constricted state. So even if the person who's sitting in front of me is in that state, I don't see that. That's right. Something that can be learned. Yeah, seeing people this way is something that can be learned.
Right. Yeah, and we have a course on that, and we have this event coming up on the 7th, right? And we're going to be talking a lot about these concepts during that event, and again, it's you cannot learn this stuff while you're in this state.
Right.
That this is a bit of the where the rubber meets the road, tricky, sticky stuff, is that if you're watching this video right now and you happen to be in a really contracted state, that it won't land properly for you. So we're inviting people to come and experience this, and we will help you. And there's lots of stuff we have out there that helps you to get from here to here so you can hear. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Here to here so you can hear.
Wow.
Here to hear so you can hear.
A lot of hearing. But
so what we're basically saying, Texas, is that the burnout self-care duo mm-hmm. is a flawed premise.
Yeah, totally. Right.
So everything that we've learned as helping professionals or helpers in our families about like caregiving and burnout and compassion fatigue and all of that, and the solutions to that, which are self-care, that's actually missing a big ingredient.
Yes.
Because it's all being taught from a place of limited resources, limited energy, limited time, this limited human experience, right. And nobody's talking about who we really are. Potential
of who we could actually be.
Right, and what we could tap into if we realized who we really were.
Right, so come and join us. We're obviously really excited about this.
I hope I won't be swearing as much.
She will be,
but I might.
Probably.
I can see it. I can see some of my friends that watch these videos be like, oh
yeah.
I can't show my mom this video.
I'm pretty proud of this because I swore way less than Saira in this session.
So join us. Check out what we're doing at theexpansionproject.com at the website, and send us a note, write a comment if you want to kind of learn more about some of these concepts, because we have lots of stuff coming down the line. There's a book that's going to be coming out in a month or two, so we'll also tell you more about that as it becomes
and I guess
available.
The big thing to leave you with is that if you're in that place right now where you're done, or you're thinking about being done, or you're looking at maybe this is the wrong job for me, or maybe I don't know. We've all been to those places.
The end of the road kind of feeling.
Or even that place where we go, am I making a difference? There's hope, and there's a different way of looking at this. There really is a different way of looking at this.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see you next time.
See
Thanks.
ya. Bye.